This is East Carolina Defensive Coordinator Blake Harrell, and you're listening to the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode. From the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close. All out to the last whistle blow. From the flag with the soul and crossbones.
How about those friggin' Pirates?
Welcome into the Sports Objective, as we have a great show tonight, as always. And normally I'd say hello to Kyle from LaGrange Barber, but next up, we'll go to my good friend in China Grove, North Carolina, and basketball and all. As we talk football, he's at his son's basketball practice. It's Bubba Rosenbaum. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Dave. Yeah, watching Riley's basketball practice, and it's back to school today. So it's been quite a day, quite the long day after 2.5 weeks of Christmas break. Such is the life of a teacher. But very excited to talk some college football tonight. We have Rickey Bustle back on the show. Of course, former Louisiana head coach, Virginia Tech offensive coordinator, and we'll dive into the national championship game between Michigan and Washington, and then also just the current climate of college football and just the way things are. He's been coaching in the high school ranks and currently is coaching in the high school ranks, and we'll get his take on just the way the transfer portal and the current climate has affected the high school recruiting.
Rickey, welcome into the show. Thank you, Coach, very much.
It's great to be here, but Bubba, I want to make sure I'm not teaching. I'm only doing the football part of it, so I don't even think I'm out there teaching them kids. Well, that's not for me.
Oh yeah. Just referring to myself as far as the teaching, but with obviously you coaching, I just wanted to get your take here in a little while, just on high school recruiting and just the way the transfer portal has impacted that.
Yeah, Coach, with that very thing, we're very excited about for East Carolina's sake. It looks like things are going very well. And Coach Houston was on our friend's show on 94.3 The Game this afternoon in Greenville with Stephen Igo, and Igo had him on. And basically the difference a year ago and now is our collective Team Boneyard. Give a shout out to Hank Hinton and company, teamboneyard.org. Because they've stepped up, Coach. They've raised a lot of money. And last year, we didn't even have a chance to open the door and talk to the guy. And now this year, everybody wants to come to East Carolina. So it's a very exciting time. And like I've said to people many times before, if you're an old dog, you better learn the new tricks. And the new tricks, one of them is the transfer portal, and the other one is NIL.
No doubt about it. For old coaches like me, I mean, this is a nightmare. I saw it coming when I was a head coach at Louisiana. Every spring you go to the beach over there with all your conferences in Southeast. Everybody does. And you vote on these issues. And we always voted against it being a mid-major. And, we knew what was going to happen if, this, and we knew it was coming. We just kept fighting it off. And, obviously it passed because, I felt like, we were going to be a farm team for the Power 5 schools.
Right.
And our best players, and there's examples everywhere, but when Billy Napier, who was coaching there sometime after me, when he went to Florida, he took like 5 kids from Louisiana's team. And I say he took, those kids wanted to go with him, but it's just too easy to leave now. I don't know the answer to it. Boy, I think about it, but we developed at that level. You develop a lot of really good football players that can play for other people. The big Power 5. They might have been recruited a little bit by them, but they weren't quite tall enough or quite whatever to be offered a scholarship by a big school like that. But all of a sudden, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, you got kids grown more. He's all of a sudden, he's all conference 2 years in a row, whatever. And those guys are making, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's there. So if they have an opportunity to go and play for a bigger school, I understand that. Boy, as a head coach, it's a headache if you're not at one of those big schools.
Hey, welcome he's got an apartment in the transfer portal, Matt Semenza. Matt,
what's up, guys?
Yeah, you saw it again today, Matt, with the pickups we're getting. It's definitely, I know it's still early, but things are a lot better this year, a year later.
Oh, absolutely. And really quick before we start, Dave, I just want to say, Coach Bustle, it's a pleasure to have you on. I've watched your work for a long time. I had an opportunity to play against your Virginia Tech teams, and you guys were always hard-nosed, disciplined teams. You did a great job there. So thanks again for coming on, and pleasure to have you. But yeah, I mean, it's really unbelievable, guys, with this transfer portal. And I just feel like what you're going to see over time, you're going to see more and more coaches go to the NFL, because I think a lot of coaches just don't want to deal. It was hard enough just to get, run a program, make sure players are going to classes and staying on top of things. But now, when you have to pay players and, at the drop of a hat, players, there's just no loyalty anymore. Players just want to, head out and go to another program as quick as possible. So I don't know if I'd want to do it anymore, but it certainly is a different world, guys.
Well, you make a good point. I got a kid playing, and I won't say the school or the name because you guys will know who it is. But he was a head coach in college at a big Power 5 school, and then he went in the NFL for a few years, and then came back to college as not as so much a position coach, a administrative position or what have you. And my young man that's playing there talked to him about being a head coach in college again. He said, "No way." So I'm going to go back to the NFL. So, I mean, the point you make, Matt, is exactly right. And, the thing is, the NFL can only take so many coaches. There's going to still be college coaches everywhere, and when guys get a chance, I think, to get away from this thing and do something in the NFL, and, that, and it's hard to get in the NFL. It's not easy. I mean, there's a lot more college coaches in the world or in the country than there are NFL coaches. But these other leagues, they're going to try to get in some of those possibly if they last. But it's a tough deal, boy. I don't know how you build a program at Louisiana, at Middle Tennessee, and because and I understand that you're getting some transfer portal guys too. I don't know, from what I've been talking to some of the guys, they're getting guys, but they're not getting as good a guy as what left them. And so it's
a challenge. Yeah,
it's a tough deal. We saw this coming years ago as a major. So, and the thing that I hate a couple things, but we close it up here, right, and then we open it up again in the spring. So right. A guy's not happy in the spring where he's at. It's just. I think, and then all this money that we're giving kids. I won't say a name, but we had a young lineman that played for us at a high school that I've been volunteering at, and he went to a mid-major, started the last 2 years. He's going to a Power 5 school, but he told me what one school offered him. It's crazy, and I wonder what the school that got him offered him, but. Because I know that school very well. So, and I mean, I've got some thoughts on that, and I don't know if we have time to talk about them or not, and it's probably not right, but it's just an opinion. I mean, if we're going to be like the pros, then let's be the pros, and let's put a cap on every Power 5 school, whatever that may be. It may be 50 million, it may be 1 million or whatever. But in the end, they've only got so much every year to give a kid. Now, And then they got to decide how much are we going to give that kid? Because now they get in competing with the other schools. They have the same amount of money, so at least they're competing. So maybe, when things are equal again, if you're both offering him, $250,000, then, it gets back to, the coaching staff, the school, the academics. Because right now, those things that we used to sell them on, it's not even a blip on their radar anymore about academics and weight rooms and all those kind of things. But I think there's something to having a cap. Again, it's just my opinion. And people will shoot holes in it. But each team, then the mid schools also have a cap. It's not near as big as the Power 5 schools, but at least we get schools competing, and they've got to decide how much money I'm going to give Joe, how much money I'm going to give that quarterback or whatever, because eventually they're going to run out of money. So they've got to get back, and it gets into at least a competitive recruiting thing, where right now it's not competitive. So many of these kids are going to the highest dollar.
Right.
To me, that's not – there's no competitive going on there. And then, another thought, and I'll make it quick, but maybe even put I'm going to use the word cap, but how much they can pay a player. If they're going after the same quarterback, and the max we can pay a player is X number of dollars, I'm not going to offer him that right away, maybe, but again, I can only give him so much. And again, every school has got the same situation in the Power 5. They all want to offer him $250,000. Fine. There's somebody else back there that's not going to get as much later on. But at least there's some kind of, because I think the NCAA is just flat lost control.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, do they
even it gets competitive again as far as who can out recruit who's got the facilities and who's the academics come back in, because I don't think right now that's near what it used to be.
Not at all. In fact, Matt and I joke, and it's like a running joke, especially behind the scenes on this.
I lost you guys.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Coach?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay. We were saying that it's a running joke. We always say that the term student athlete, is a joke to hear student and athlete together. You were talking about coaching. We saw an article today, Coach, with former East Carolina head football coach Skip Holtz.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about he's had like 5 group of 5 offers, and he would much rather stay with the Birmingham Stallions. He's won 2 USFL championships back to back. He's going into the UFL, the combined league, for those that don't know, USFL and XFL. I'm sure everybody that we have smart listeners and viewers. So, but he would rather stay that for the very reason of he's got top talent, Coach. He doesn't have to worry about NIL and all that. He's got like all-star teams basically that he's coaching. So, and those guys want to make it to the league. So of course they're not going to be, I'm sure 99% of them, there's always one knucklehead, as you know, all of us have coached on the show. But they want to play and they want to earn a spot in the NFL. So he wants to be there. And Coach, it's just great. In fact, Shell Powell, by the way, one of our great listeners from the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina, Coach, he makes a great point. He says he thinks Harbaugh is headed to the NFL because of what Matt was talking about earlier. And I 100% agree. I think Michigan, we'll get into that in just a second, but my pick has been all year long, Michigan's to win the national championship. Harbaugh is going to go to maybe my team that's suffering each year. Maybe his name was rumored for the Panthers, but I don't even think that he's that desperate. He would stay at Michigan over the Panthers. But Coach, what do you think about that? Somebody like Harbaugh, you think he goes to back to the NFL because of all the problems he's had with recruiting issues and, of course, NIL and all that?
I don't think there's any question, because I think Coach Harbaugh has always, he's an NFL kind of guy, kind of type of guy, I guess. And, he's been there. and he came back. But I guarantee you that the NCAA, all this stuff he's had to go through and going through, with one say of yes, he can end that, and be gone to the NFL, because they don't give a crap, if you all that stuff he's done in recruiting or guys, and I just, it's gotten to be, I think, a real pain for a lot of coaches. I had a coach tell me last night, he was actually off calling me, asking me if I would be interested in coaching, being an offensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we got to talking, and I told him, I don't know. I said, and I said, it's not where you're at, not who you're with. I said, it's all this NLI and all this stuff, because this is what's happened. Guys that are in the program, some of them aren't leaving because they're not playing. They're leaving because they think they can get more money somewhere. I mean, I look at a couple of starters right here at Georgia, linebacker and I think a wide receiver or something, maybe defensive back. But I mean, what the heck are they leaving for? I mean, they're one of the top schools in the country, and they're leaving. But they didn't found out. And don't tell me that these kids aren't talking to. Everybody says legally, well, they can go back and talk to their high school coach. That'll happen. But they got somebody. I'm gonna call them their agent, but that's not what they are, I guess. But they talking to somebody that's panning them out there and putting feelers out for guys.
Yeah, it's craziness. You have, I know you were referencing some situations earlier, not calling names. This time, we certainly will call names because this is public knowledge, and, this has transpired here in the last week or two. You have Trevor Etienne, a tremendous running back for the University of Florida, leaving to go to Georgia. Just things you would have never thought about seeing, guys that are having a ton of success at very proud programs, leaving for other proud programs, or in some cases, less proud programs, like a Kyle McCord going from Ohio State to Syracuse.
That thing at the end, I mean, that's a perfect example. What does Georgia give them that Florida doesn't? Academically, it's all good. Team, it's all good. What in the world do we think that it could be? It's not a new pair of shoes. It's not a better looking swoosh or whatever. It's crazy. And like I said, the NCAA has lost control. They have, and all these tests we used to take as coaches, we had to take these recruiting tests every year so we knew how to recruit, knew what was legal. And of course, the fans and the boosters was a big part of that test. And they're not even taking the test anymore because they've given the keys or the keys to the jailhouse to the to all the boosters because they can get involved now.
It's out in the open. Coach, you remember the 30 by 30, 30 for 30 rather, with SMU with the death penalty and the Pony Express.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that, and I was a kid when that was going on, but I remember that the Southwest Conference, and it was so funny when I remember vividly on that documentary for 30 for 30, they were like, even the governor is giving money to get players. I think it was the governor of Texas. But now it seems that what was a death penalty for SMU is now fair game. Johnny Manziel had to sit out because of autographs a decade ago. I mean, think about Johnny Manziel and his NIL, and you look at Reggie Bush at USC, and we could go on and on and on. But I think it's all this stuff has been going on. It's just now what was illegal and people frown upon. Now it's anything goes.
Yeah, but but there's some schools that are in the Power Five that can't match other people. There's still going to be differences, and I'm not, I don't know all the budgets of all schools and all that stuff, but that's not even in the budget. So they got to get that from somewhere else. But there's schools that can't raise the same kind of money that their competitors do. in the league, and that's what I'm saying. I think there's something to do with a cap somewhere that makes them all equal again. And if one school wants to give the top dollar to a guy, then he does it. But some other people aren't going to get it. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely.
Coach, I wanted to ask you on a slightly different note. Obviously you're a longtime coach at Virginia Tech. I always really appreciated the matchup, that out of conference matchup, or even back to the days when we were both independent. What were your thoughts on that matchup? Obviously we're not going to be playing anymore because of, just some of the modern ways of college football. But, what were your thoughts on that matchup?
Where'd you play again?
I played at East Carolina. I played linebacker.
They still got football. I just wanted to make sure. I was just picking with you because I actually coached there for 3 years, and I enjoyed 3 years right there. I think it's a good football program. But yeah, that was always a tough game for us. I know going to what the state? West State Ficklin? No, it's not. Is it?
Yeah, now it's Dowdy Ficklin.
Okay. But, going there was tough to play. And always thought that was going to be one whale of a program one day. We caught it when it just came out. Pat Dye just left, and it just came out of the Southern Conference, I believe, and jumped into independent. And that was a bear. I mean, I remember at Virginia Tech, we sold. I know one game we were supposed to play Florida State at home, and they gave the university enough money to play it in Orlando. And those are things that were going on because just because schools like us in East Carolina, Virginia Tech needed money back when we got there, and but East Carolina always needed money, and but it was a great battle. And I don't know. I don't remember. I know I still remember one of my worst nightmares was we were down there on a foot line against East Carolina at our stadium, and I had a backup quarterback playing because my starter in pregame had a loose cartilage and it stuck between his kneecaps, so he couldn't play and all that stuff. But we had a check on the goal line if certain look. We were going and check, and of course my starter knew if we got down to the one, we wasn't checking jack. Whatever I called, we was gonna run. But my backup didn't, and we got down there and he checked that thing off, and it was a little flip pass thing, and he threw it right to that East Carolina guy, and I think he went 103 yards. I can't remember if it's 102, 103, whatever it was. And I think that lost this game for us, but that was always a good rivalry. Enjoyed playing them.
Dave, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
I wish I could do that at
20 that would be great, wouldn't it? 2018, we had some issues between the two schools, and it's just a disappointment. I love that rivalry, Coach, and I would just say the fans disappoint me, and also the administration at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, because great school, we love the rivalry, and we want it back. And they always want to make it like that. Well, we're supposed to win that game, and when we don't win that game, then we hear about it. And I think it's the world we live in now with the rivalries and having those two schools. Or you can drive in a few hours from Greenville to Blacksburg, vice versa. And so I don't want to sound like I'm negative about the school. I'm just frustrated that they just canceled all those games on us. We had an unfortunate situation with a bad chancellor, and we'll leave it at that. But that said things that he shouldn't have said, and the athletic director said things he shouldn't have said as far as at Virginia Tech. But we need to have that rivalry back. When you look at it, as far as Hokie Nation, Virginia Tech comes to our games at Dowdy Ficklin, we go up there at Lane Stadium. So, I don't understand why you wouldn't, especially when you're selling tickets. Both fan bases care about the game.
No doubt. there was no question wherever we played, there was going to be a big crowd there. Because back when we first started playing East Carolina, I mean, we weren't selling out our own stadium at the time. We'd have good crowds, but we hadn't started all that bowl run or anything either. Not when I was there. So, but we were always going to travel. Well, we always have, and there's no question East Carolina. But to me, I mean, that's why I always love. I mean, I know Virginia was a rival, but boy, you talk about a short, quick ride and play a big game and leave or do whatever you want to do. And East Carolina was not any different as far as good short. It wasn't a long, long drive, and because most games you can't, it takes a long time to get to them. Especially when we got into Big East. I mean, you're trying to fly all over the place.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to tell you that when we had the regional in Charlottesville with East Carolina and UVA, I was talking to the gentleman there, and I said, both programs for baseball were good, and we were talking, and he was in security, and he told me that he said, we're not worried about you guys. Now, he said, the only time we ever have to worry about anything is Virginia Tech, Virginia. He said, no, Virginia Tech and Virginia play, that's a whole nother story, a whole nother ball game. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Well, it was always good crowds. And I mean, how them games can go. So, and it took us a while before we could ever beat Virginia. But once we started beating them, we kept beating them. And it started getting uglier. So, and there were some rough times after the game on the field too.
So, Rickey, taking a look at it here, you got Johnny Robertson chiming in on Facebook with a question or comment, rather. He says, Coach Bustle, congratulations on Maurice DeChazo getting into the Hokie Hall of Fame. I used to play basketball with him. He was genuinely a nice guy. He started the Virginia Tech run of great quarterbacks, and he couldn't have done it without you. If you would talk a little bit about DeChazo.
Yeah, Maurice was from Bassett High School in Martinsville, and he was a really, really good athlete. And that was my recruiting area. So, I went to see him every chance I got. What was legal, what was not legal. I wanted to go see him. I watched him play basketball. I watched him go to class. Everything. And the head coach there had been really good to me while I was before I ever came there, because I went to that high school before they had an athlete, and continued after. But Maurice, he really decided between us and Virginia, and I just always felt like we were just gonna get him, and we did. So he was very athletic. He was a good, smart guy. He had a great personality about him. That's why he sold cars for so long, because he worked in dealerships for I forget who he worked for, but he did that for the longest time. But he could have sell ice to Eskimos. But that's just the kind of personality he had, that people like to hang around him. You have fan day. They were, he was going to be right in the middle of them, but he was just a talented guy that got started, and he really. I got on his bad side when he was a senior, because I had left and gone to South Carolina, and I only went 1 year, and I came back to Virginia Tech, and he called me some bad names for leaving him. So, but he was just, I mean, he really was. He was the type of player, and we continue to get better quarterbacks, and but he really did some good things while he was there, and helped us offensively do things that you wanted to do, and he was just. I'm just really proud of him.
No doubt, Coach. We have from the Queen City. Let's get Shell from Charlotte. Go ahead, Shell. See if we we'll have to come back and check on him in a second. All right, let's go. Bub, I know.
Yeah, I got something, Dave, while you're figuring that out with the technical difficulties with Shell. Appreciate you calling in, Shell. But as far as that era is concerned, and we've discussed this a little bit before, I think, Coach, when we've had you on, but obviously you and that staff on Coach Beamer, y'all, at least Coach Beamer, y'all had been there, about 5-6 years, and the '92 season was a very rough one. You won, I think, 2 games, but then from '93 on, and I know you had that brief 1 year down at South Carolina, but just the amount of success that Virginia Tech had, it was crazy, the turnaround, and that Virginia Tech administration stuck with Coach Beamer and that staff, and it certainly more than paid off.
Well, at that time, like I said, you're right. You have an exact account of it. We thought as assistant coaches we were probably done that last year, and and I think maybe Coach Beamer being a graduate of Virginia Tech probably saved us, saved us for one more year. Coach made some couple hard changes on the staff and so forth, and kind of that was my first year being a coordinator after that season, or after that bad year. I knew what we had to do, and we were fortunate enough to get in that first bowl, and the rest is history. But it just was completely a snowball for us to start with an Independence Bowl and playing a couple more bowls. All of a sudden, you're playing in a major bowl, then you're back to another bowl next year, and it obviously it helped us get players. The good thing was we wasn't paying nobody, and nobody was, so we were all right there. Got some really, really good players. And there's a great group of alumni players that really know how much I appreciate them, because we were on Facebook a lot of times, and they get together at games and take pictures of the old guards, so to speak. But they're the ones that really were a foundation to our football teams, and some of them took some lumps getting there. But for that group of kids that finally made, our young men that turned that corner, like I said, once we went to the Independence Bowl and beat Indiana, and things just, like I said, it's the rest is history, because you went from there to all these bowls and playing in a national championship, and having a chance to win that thing. So it's and I hope that Brent can get it back up there a little bit. I think he took over a rough program for him. He was on my staff at Louisiana. Matter of fact, several coaches on that staff were on my staff. But I really pulled for him. I dropped him a note once in a while, and so yeah, it was a time. It was a golden time in Hokie football, and you reach that pinnacle to have a chance for it, and like a lot of coaches say, at least you had a chance to play for one. I've talked to guys that retired and never had a chance. So it was awesome. It really was.
Yeah, guys, I was going to say, I remember towards the end of Frank Beamer's career at Virginia Tech, there were a lot of people who, as fans can get very impatient when things aren't going exactly right. A lot of people wanted to kind of run him off. And, hey, as you see, sometimes when you make those changes, the grass isn't always greener, and the program has never been the same since. So
you're exactly right. I was glad they hung in because he didn't deserve anything but to go out on his terms, in my opinion. And I think he did that. And I know he had to put up with a lot of stuff, but the next group or whatever that took over that program, it just went. And a program can go up and down. It can go down faster than it can get up. And the program just dropped. Had a rough series with that next group of coaching staff and so forth. And
right.
And like I said, Brent's taken over a tough situation that I hate that for him, because he's a good football coach and he's going to do a good job if they give him time. But like I said, it's you can go down very fast, and going up is so slow.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I really liked what I saw out of them the second half of this year. I
Yeah.
wasn't really impressed the last few years, and I think that something clicked halfway through this season, and I do think they're turning the corner and starting to make that climb back in a positive direction. So, hey, we shall see. But they certainly finished pretty strong. They won the bowl game. If I don't know how much merit there is anymore in winning a bowl game.
I know.
but but hey, at least you're moving in the right direction.
Exactly. And I think they've solidified. I think the big thing that helped them this year was solidified on a quarterback that really played well. I was impressed with him, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a good player, and I think that helped him a lot offensively.
Yeah, he ran for about 200 yards in that bowl game against Tulane, and the Hokies ran for it's like the old days. He ran for about 340 yards.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he did run the ball a lot in that game. I watched him in a couple other games, and I think he's got the whole package, and he's going to really solidify him off. Because I don't know if they really had that guy, the last few years or whatever.
Coach, before we shift over and talk about this matchup on Monday night between Michigan and Washington, I know before when we had you on, you told us a tremendous recruiting story about Michael Vick when you went to the 757 and what it took to get Michael to Blacksburg. Do you have another story or two from your time there in Blacksburg or perhaps at South Carolina that you can share from the recruiting trail?
Well, there's always a story or two to be fumbling around, and but Michael was probably, I'll tell you, I don't know if y'all remember Jim Druckenmiller.
Yes, sir. Definitely remember him being with the 49ers.
Yeah, well, they had offered a scholarship to a guy at Fork Union. And I went over there to see him, and so I'm watching a kid throw and so forth. And boy, I just didn't. He didn't excite me. He didn't excite me, and all of a sudden, or after a while, this other big kid comes in, and he starts throwing, and I'm watching him throw. Because if you remember, Will Fuhrer was the same way. He came out of Fork Union, but Jim, he ends up coming to Tech because that's who I wanted to offer, and that's who we did. And we had to back out of the other one, and of course, he had a great career. But the thing that people don't know is Jim came in, and I'm trying to think who our senior quarterback was that was going to play that year. Might have been Will. But he came in, and we talked as a staff about him going back home and not going that first semester to give him an extra year to play. Because I thought he was going to be really, really good, and he was going to redshirt. Maybe we had a junior quarterback that was doing well. That's what it was. We had a junior quarterback, so. He was going to waste a year if he stayed there. So I convinced him to go back home, which he did. And then he came back in January. And then when you look at his career, he had a really good junior year, but it wasn't a number one draft pick type of year. And because of the extra year, he played as a senior, and he played lights out as a senior, as a pro style quarterback. And obviously, he was a first round pick of the 49ers, but nobody really knows that story. I guess it's not as funny as the other ones, but there's just nobody knew that he really just and we could have lost him. He could have decided that while he was home, heck, I'm going somewhere else. All right, I'm gonna go. Somebody could have recruited him, whatever, and because he wasn't bound to us when we didn't take him. And so he ended up going home for a semester and then coming back, thank goodness.
No doubt. Welcome in Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you? Nice Do you have any up downs, Coach, for Kyle coming in for missing a good portion of the show?
Well,
40 minutes long?
I call them worms. You used to give them up downs, but now I give them worms, and because you can't do with so much of those guys because you get mom and dad will yell at you.
Coach, I believe I'd rather do up downs and get worms.
Well, the worms is you lay your nose on the goal line, put your hands behind your back, and you got to crawl.
Okay, like an inchworm. I got it.
It's like a worm, and I do it here to these high school kids. And I actually had to do 2 quarterbacks one time when they missed curfew, and I told them,
Oh man,
we were there at 5:30 in the morning. The weight coach did it, got through running them for being late. I had to be there, and I put them down at the other end of the field, which was 90 yards, and they wormed. It took them an hour and 41 minutes to get to the other end.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Right
Coach,
now, I give them 20 yards. You're going to be there for 30, 35, 40 minutes.
Even I don't want that to happen to Kyle.
No. Those aren't fun. Those aren't fun.
I propose the breaded pork chop for Kyle. You guys know what the breaded pork chop is?
No, what is that, Matt?
That's we had an old coach, Rickey, Coach Jeff Connors was his name. You might remember him, but he put a sand pit in, like an old school sand pit. And when if you were late for practice or whatever it was, and your punishment is he would get you in that sand pit, and you'd get a little sweaty, and by the time you got out, you look like a breaded pork chop. So that's what we got to get Kyle in there.
Well, I tell you what, go out and try putting your nose on the goal line and go 20 yards with your hands behind your back. You can't roll, and you just got to inch along. And I would tell you to keep your shoulder pads on. I would recommend you have your shoulder pads on. If not, you're going to have them shoulders going to be burnt.
Coach, I don't know if it's been brought up yet or not. I'm sorry for joining the show late, but I heard you guys talking about the Hokies as I came in, and you have your background there in Louisiana, et cetera. And if this has been discussed, I apologize. But NIL, how do you think NIL has affected Virginia Tech's program as it's coming to fruition the last 3 years or so? NIL really has dominated college football. Just from a standpoint of their fan base, their alumni, you were there for so long. Do you think that there's the money there to compete? Obviously all the Power 5 schools have money now, but some have more than others. How do you think Virginia Tech, in terms from a financial standpoint, it will do and will continue to do in this modern era of NIL, and the same with Louisiana from the Group of 5 level?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know if Virginia Tech has the money. Again, they're going to compete for a great player. You put Michael Vick back out there, and you're going to compete against everybody in the country. I don't think that they're that they have the money to compete with whoever, Georgia or whoever, that wants that kid, that great kid. And there's going to be some probably that aren't Michael Vicks, and there are other really good players. And again, I mean, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where the money comes from some of these schools, like a Virginia Tech. I don't know. I just what fund is that? Just where does it come from? What boosters, and how many boosters? Blacksburg's a very small area. It's not like you have some big business opportunities or operations around there that kids can go work at the car wash for $200,000 or something like that. So I think it's a slow. That's why I think it's a slow build for Brent. It's not just about out recruiting somebody. It's not just about out working somebody, building a better relationship, having a better weight room, having a better whatever. It's not about that anymore. When you get into the type of players that you need to play against Clemson, to play against North Carolina, and some of those teams in that conference, I don't know. I don't know where the money's going to come from to compete with some of them. And that's one opinion. I'm not at Virginia Tech anymore. A couple of my guys that work for me are over there, and so I don't know. No, I think it's and then for Louisiana, I mean, there's no way they're going to compete with any. Because we would sign. We had a running back that we signed, and I thought I would have bet money after I left his mom and dad's house that we, as good as we felt, he was going to go to Ole Miss. And in the end, his mother wanted him to come play for me and come play for a running back coach. And he ended up coming to Virginia Tech. He started as a freshman. He was one of 7 running backs to go over 1,000 yards 4 years in a row, 1,000 yards in 4 years in a row. He was up there with Herschel Walker. Didn't do that, but there were some great players in the record books that had done that. Marcus Allen and people like that had won Heisman's. And if that would have got into a bid more or something, there's no reason I think we could have got him. But just on players that you can actually compete for. Again, Louisiana, Lafayette has money. It's a gas oil area. There's a lot of money in there, but it don't all go to the school by any means. That's why I said earlier that I think the mid majors ought to come under some type of cap as well as the Power 5. Again, it's just my opinion, but where they have a limit so they know each year how much they have to spend. And whatever I don't know what that amount would be. But when they're competing against Arkansas State, they're competing against other mid-major schools that they can go head-to-head with them, because there's probably some schools in Texas that just have more money than a Lafayette or I mean, I don't know how in the world Arkansas State would get enough money.
Right.
Just because of location. And so I just think there's some limit to what those type schools can have for their budget for that year. There's a limit for the Power 5. And then it gets back to how much money you're going to give them. And, me and Arkansas or Louisiana, or Arkansas State or Georgia and Florida or they're all giving equal money to a kid. And of course, Louisiana and them are a lower tier, but I mean, they're giving money to that kid they're fighting over. And I think that's just, that at least gets them to compete a little more evenly.
Coach, from the Queen City, he was we had some technical difficulties. He's going to ask via Facebook. She'll ask, Coach, what do you think about all these conference realignments?
We had no control in Louisiana, and of course, Louisiana is still in the Sun Belt. But it goes. I mean, it's all about money and what the those mid schools get. The major players in the Power 5, those schools are coming in there because I can't remember what they announced around here that Georgia gets from being in the conference in the SEC. So when you look at Texas coming in there and those other schools playing, they're moving because somebody's going to move, and they don't want to be left behind. But they're also going, and they will make more money than they've ever made. And don't tell me that's not a factor. So,
Florida State's going to be the next domino. The question is, where are they going to go?
Yeah, but it'll be that they're good enough to, if they get an opportunity to pay, they're going to pay their way in.
And you look at Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson. I even think Miami. I'm starting to hear their name. But the ACC, as we know it, is going to look way different. They may survive, but that's the conference that you have to keep your eyes on for the dominoes to fall and everything to be. It's amazing. It's like a little board, and everything. All these little pawns are it's like a chessboard. All these pawns are moving all around. It's hard to keep up with.
It really is, and I played at Clemson and I pulled for them and all that stuff. I don't know how they would do going into SEC. I don't know. I think it's a great conference. And that's where I'm thinking that a Clemson or a Florida State's going to try to go. I don't know that, but that's where I kind of see it. And they gonna get away from being able to possibly pay for a national championship, whereas they staying in the ACC, you're supposed to be able to compete for that.
And my thing is, Coach, I don't know how the rest of the guys feel. If you're Clemson or Florida State, Clemson has been a little bit down considering their recent standards of
Right.
winning national championships or being a national championship. It seems to me Oklahoma and Texas have a much harder road in the SEC than when they were in the Big 12.
The thing is, Dave, and this is why, besides the money factor for Florida State and Clemson, when you look at the new playoff format and you say 12 teams, and you know each of the so-called Power Five champions are going to get in starting next year, the 12-team format is only 2 years. So after those 2 years are up, if the greedy powers that be of the SEC and the Big Ten don't get at least, I don't know, 8 of the 12 teams in the playoffs, they're probably going to change the format somehow. And I think eventually what we're coming to, and I think Florida State and Clemson know it, and same with Oklahoma and Texas. I think we're coming to a split. There's going to be two. It's going to be like the NFL. It's going to be like the AFC and the NFC. You're going to have the Big Ten and the SEC, and then you're going to have everybody else. And you're going to have those two conferences competing in something like the NFL, and then the rest of us, whoever's left, and the rest of us, because you're going to have a bunch of ACC schools, et cetera, joining that mess. That's really what I think is going to end up happening. And I think that's why Florida State and Clemson are looking to get out. If they were to stick with the 12-team format beyond 2 years, then yeah, it would make a lot more sense in terms of getting access to the playoffs with that 12-team format to just stay in the ACC and try to win it. You have a lot better path, easier path, winning the ACC to make the playoffs in the 12-team format than you do trying to win the SEC.
Yep.
Yeah. Kyle, you're 100% right. I mean, I totally agree. And that is going to happen. And my big thing is, let's just get it over with. We're just prolonging the inevitable. So, that's the direction everything is heading towards. Let's just go ahead and get it over with. And in terms of the 12-team playoff, I mean, that's absolutely the right way to go, in my opinion. And but it is interesting how people use it against the so-called G5. You saw Liberty get into the Fiesta this year, and obviously they got blown out against Oregon, and everybody says, look, see what happened when you get a G5 team. But the reality is Oregon does that to about 90% of the teams out there. You saw that a few years ago when Cincinnati played Alabama in the playoff, and I don't remember what the final score was. I think it was like 27-6 maybe, or something along those lines, but it was a very tight game. In the third quarter, that was a very close game, but everybody uses that against them. They say, hey, see what happens. But Alabama does that to everybody. So it's a tough position to be in, but there's no doubt, Kyle. I mean, that's the way it's going. I just hope they can, they just get it done sooner than later.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off all at one time instead of this little trickle effect of teams leaving conferences every other year. Let's just go ahead and do what we're going to do. We everybody sees it out there. Everybody knows what they want to do. They know that they really want them to be SEC, Big Ten. Both leagues go to 20 or 30 teams, 40 teams, whatever ridiculous thing they want to do. Just go ahead and do it and get it over with.
It comes down to ratings, and I'll say this: it comes down to ratings. And if you think ESPN is hurting now and ABC, just wait till they cut it to 20 teams, because the reason why people watch now, realistically, East Carolina doesn't have a chance to be in the national championship.
But we're all part of it. Yep.
But we're all part of it. And if they were to actually, what they don't want, Coach, and I know I'm putting you in a difficult spot, is I don't dislike college football and say that I love NFL more. But the one thing about the NFL I do like, if you win your division, you go to the playoffs. The problem with college football is they could be the number one sport. They're number two behind NFL. And the reason being is because people are greedy, and the Alabama fans, I'm sorry that you didn't make it in the national championship game. We would love to be in the national championship game, even if it was one time, like you were talking about, Coach.
Sure.
So that's the thing. They don't want the giant killers that we used to be in East Carolina to come in and, oh my gosh, Nick Saban's last game and East Carolina beats them. That kind of
Right.
upset. They don't want a Cinderella like the other sports that we have upsets happen. And if they would learn that if you did have the upsets, that actually grows the game and they could actually make a lot more money. I'm hearing in the billions of dollars
Yeah.
if they expand the playoff even more to say 16 teams.
Well, I agree with you. I think the TV people, ESPNs and ABC, they're gonna have to, because I mean, right now they have contracts of schools that if they leave, they're gonna get money and all, they're gonna have to just drop all that stuff. They're gonna be involved with the alignment. They're gonna be involved with who's on what side or what. They're gonna be right in the middle of it, which that's business. College football is not like it's business. It's a big business. And the TV drives so much money into it. So when it all happens, and whether like whoever was saying there about the two leagues and all that, the TVs are going to be part of that too. And there's going to be a lot of money that's going out to a lot of schools. And boy, you just hope you can get in there and get some of that. And some schools will try to get into that, and they shouldn't be. But they again, you get into some politics things, but I could see something like that happen. Getting
What
two
happens?
leagues like that.
Yeah,
But
what happened?
they just need to go ahead and, like somebody said, do it. TV, because right now, again, if they start wanting to do it, then the TV people are going to say, well, we're going to sue and get money that y'all owe us and all kind of stuff. Then we'll come in. But if everybody just drops their gloves and starts meeting on this thing, and in a couple of years, it could be done right. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, they actually could, and there are more schools that can't do what they're talking about, so they should sue the schools that are doing it. We've talked about that numerous times because it really is antitrust, for sure. And hopefully, we could talk all night about it, Coach. We wanted to talk about right, Matt. We want to talk. I know you've been chomping at the bit. Let's talk the national championship game.
Hey, I'm good. I'm good at talking about anything. I'm okay. Whatever you want to talk about.
I know, Coach, but I know, Matt, you want to talk about the excitement of Washington, and man, Michigan has been like a heavyweight champion all year long. People are giving no credit, including talking about the cupcake non-conference schedule with those East Carolinas. I've heard that so much on national sports talk there, Matt.
Yeah, no doubt, fellas. This is a really exciting playoff. I mean, everything else aside, I think the 4 teams that got in, it's been tremendous. The 2 games last weekend were awesome. The Rose Bowl, Alabama, Michigan, and that setting, what a game. And I think it's really come down to the 2 best teams, honestly. And this is going to be a really interesting matchup, guys. And Coach, I honestly believe that the quarterback for Washington, Michael Penix Jr., I think he's the best quarterback in the country. I really do. A lot of people talk about the quarterback from USC, Williams. A lot of people talk about Drake May from North Carolina. But this kid, in terms of accuracy and arm strength and just command of the offense, I mean, I am beyond impressed with him. I'm not sure how much you've had a chance to see him play, Coach, but if you have, what are your thoughts on him?
It's funny. I have seen a game or two, and I've seen highlights, and I know how highlights are and all that. But the game that I was watching today while I was riding my bike in here and watching was Washington versus Washington State. So I just watched them for the whole game, and there's no doubt he is explosive with what he does. I think they got a couple of really good wide receivers. If they can protect him, I think he can make some noise in the game. I think he can, because he's got a good relief. They don't, and they're not, at least in the game I watched today, They got their deep shots they're going to take, and they're not trying to fool nobody. I mean, they're going to throw the football, but they're going to throw a lot of quick game, a lot of quick throws, which is absolutely awesome. I think that helps him a lot. And you can bring those blitzes if you want, but they throw enough quick game to warrant. I mean, to hurt you on that. But I just I just don't know. And I like the quarterback at Michigan. I think he's exactly what they need. He can, they're gonna run the football, and they're gonna pound you, and they're gonna muscle you. But he's gonna do play action pass and get the ball downfield. And I watched him the other week because, when can you ever recall Texas and Alabama losing in the same day?
That's a good point. Doesn't happen very often.
So I watched him pretty closely, not knowing I was going to be on here then. But I hope they can protect him at Washington. But he is a fine quarterback, and he will throw some balls crazy. I call him crazy just because that's what I call him. But that just don't look like. He might throw it and not be close to anybody, but he can zip it. And I just, he's good. He looked like he's a good athlete. He runs their offense extremely well. And if they can get them a little bit of running game and keep throwing the quick game and then taking their shots, because I think that's what they do, it's just going to be tough against that defense in Michigan.
Coach, there was a lot of talk of Alabama fatigue, Clemson fatigue, where people were just sick of seeing Clemson and Alabama play for the national championship. Then it was, a lot of people were getting tired of Georgia. Do you think it's good for the game of college football to have a Michigan-Washington national championship? They're blue bloods, but neither
doubt.
one. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, I know exactly how Washington feels to the inch.
Right.
We at Virginia Tech, again, when were we ever going to get another shot at this? And I know exactly how they feel and what they're up against because we were underdogs. They're underdogs. And we ended up playing a heck of a game and doing a lot of good things, lost it. But, they're going to test Michigan, because in that conference, Michigan didn't play, and a lot of people, run the football well. And I don't know that these guys run it well, but I think they run it enough because like I said, they like to throw it around. But I think it's great having two new teams in here. And like I said, I know exactly how Washington feels. I know how their kids feel. I know how their coaches feel. Michigan, it seems like they're always doing good stuff. You don't hear about Washington very much.
Not as much as Michigan. And one thing I'm interested to see is when the ratings come out, not having a Southern school, playing in the national championship game. No Alabama, no Clemson, no Florida State, no Oklahoma, no Texas, nobody from the South. It's the Northwest and the Midwest. I'm going to be interested to see how the ratings are with what it feels like the South drives so much of college football.
Yeah, you're probably right from the standpoint of the fan support that they get and and draw. Yeah, that'll be interesting. There's gonna be a whole lot of people watch that football game though. A bunch of Alabama people would love to see Michigan get beaten. Them Texas folks would like to see Washington get beat, so that'll fill it up a little bit, I guess. But,
Yeah, I saw something interesting today where just talking about ratings where, these meaningless college bowl games that these players don't want to play in anymore. There was not a single college bowl game aired by ESPN that had less than 2 million viewers. That's pretty impressive considering the way some of these bowl games are treated now, even by players.
yeah, I think, I would have thought, myself, because I heard people talking about it over the break and Christmas and all that kind of stuff, that if they weren't, I would think it may have hurt ticket sales. You know, there's
Right.
going to be a lot of people watch bowl games on TV. I've watched a ton of them, and I'm a
Yeah.
football guy. But you know, the people that watch football games, and they're
Yep.
going to watch a bunch. But I would like to. I would wonder what kind of figure that they come up with, how many tickets were sold, and I know universities have to buy certain allotments and all that kind of stuff. But I've heard people say that they just weren't going to go because it's just not enough. Too many players are not the same, and it's a shame for that. But
Seems like we could fix that with NIL. If you're going to have NIL, why can't we make it to where hey, you got to fulfill your commitments, and that includes playing in the bowl game to get that last NIL check.
yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm for anything, and and the other side of it, I do understand top prospects and they have agents by then that are they could get hurt, and all of a sudden a number one pick loses. Whatever. I
Right.
know all that. So that's why I don't know the fix, but something that makes them stay in there. Because it's just, there's just so many players around Georgia here. Every day I pick up a paper, somebody's leaving.
I asked David Blackwell this. I'm sure you're familiar with Coach Blackwell. A couple years ago, maybe it was last year actually, and Coach Blackwell out in Missouri now as a defensive analyst. But I asked him a couple years ago that he think if we took the majority of the bowl games that weren't the New Year's Six bowls or the playoffs and moved them all to pre-Christmas, that he think more players would stay and not opt out, and he actually agreed. He said he thought that would help. Do you agree with that, or do you think it wouldn't make a difference?
If they did that and moved that early signing date back, I think you'd definitely get some relief from that. That signing date is right there, and a lot of guys are moving through that thing. I don't know. Some of them that are some of them know they're going in the portal no matter what, no matter when you play the game. But there's some of them that, well, if I could have a good game in the bowl game, I'd be more video playing against, that kid from Liberty playing against Oregon or whatever it is.
Right.
But I think that the ones that are got all the video, they've got enough video on themselves. They're all conference. They're whatever. They've led the team in tackles. All that's. I think that would hurt TV. I don't know if you could see that many games. And again, I think TV drives a lot, but you try to put that many bowls. It's 42, I think, bowl games or something.
Right. So I'm talking. If you take away the playoff games and New Year's Six, you'd be talking about playing roughly 25 bowl games, I guess, prior to Christmas. So it's a lot, but when you look at every Saturday how many games are played and people manage to watch all those, I mean,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just I'm
I
trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, I know. It's a damn gum. That's why I got a prediction that when the Power Five get it all straightened out, they're gonna leave the NCAA. That's my opinion. The NCAA is gonna run somebody else.
I agree with you. I don't think it'll be a Power Five though. I still think it'll be a Power Two, at most a Power Three.
Whatever, but but I do think it'd be hard to watch a lot of them games, but I don't know. You're gonna watch them, but it'd be I don't know. That'd be a lot of ball games, boy.
I think, ultimately, like I was talking about earlier for the regular season, I think you're really hurting your audience because of the fact that they're going to be people like me. I won't watch. I can tell you right now, I won't watch. If my school is like basically kicked out of Division I, the top level, I'm going to say forget it. I know people may.
I'll watch what East Carolina, whatever level we are, whatever that new level.
No. I'm saying,
I would. I wouldn't watch the highest level. No, I won't either.
I'm talking about the games that normally. Okay, let's say for example, Kyle and Matt and myself and Bubba, like after East Carolina game, coach, we're home, we're watching one of the big games or multiple games, and we're texting each other in a group text. Well, if East Carolina is not in that quote unquote league or division anymore, yeah, I know, but if they're not anymore, then forget about it. I'm not watching. I don't know how many people feel the same, but
I think the majority of Group of Five fans would feel that way. I think you have that right now with a lot of FCS fans. I wonder how many North Dakota State fans watch FBS football, for example. But I think it would be the same kind of thing if that split happens. I think you're going to watch whatever division your team's in, and I think
yep.
that's where I think that those power schools will regret it a little because they're going to lose some audience.
On Saturday nights, the big ABC game that's supposed, they say ESPN, ABC. I watch that game religiously. I watch that pretty much unless we have a night game. I'm going to watch that game, and then the guys will say, "Hey, are you watching this game?" And I'll flip over to see what they're talking about. But otherwise, I think that's an element that they're not taking in consideration as eyeballs is what drives the trade, and I don't think that they realize how many people they could potentially lose. But
I wonder how many people, and I don't know when they figure the TV viewers, because I'm not smart enough to know how they do that, but how many people left that Florida State game earlier than?
Oh yeah.
I flipped it over to the it over to the Arizona Bowl on the CW and watched Toledo play Wyoming because the Georgia Florida State game was horrible. The Toledo Wyoming game was fantastic.
I felt sorry for him. It was hard to watch.
And Kirby Smart, he was talking about that very thing in the the post game. It's like, he took out a lot of the guys. What was it, third string guys? Like in the second quarter, were playing. And he's like, "Hey, those guys want a spot for next year." He was upset about the very fact of kids opting out on both sides, but especially Florida State, because when you hear Georgia.
Yeah, I think Dave froze up on us there, Coach. But he was talking about opt-outs and the amount of opt-outs for Florida State and Georgia having to play going deep into the bench because of the amount of players Florida. Did it surprise you that Florida State had that many guys opt out? I know they were disappointed about not playing for the national championship, but you're still playing Georgia, who won the national championship last year, who's been number one all season long.
Yeah.
To me, you still had a lot you could have proved. To me, my mindset, and I don't, I'm not a college football player. I'm not an 18, 19, 21-year-old. But my mindset would have been, I would have felt like we had even more to prove. It just shocks me that so many of their players opted, particularly being with Georgia as the opponent.
I don't think we could have been playing the Los Angeles Rams, and I think some of them guys were trying to make a statement. I think some of them, not to hurt Florida State, but to make the statement. I mean, there was something they wanted to do that they didn't give any thought to playing in that game because they didn't get to play in the big one.
Right. I agree, Coach. I agree 100%.
And we may never know that for sure. Maybe, some years later, somebody will admit. I mean, they felt like they deserved the national championship, and I think they felt, a lot of them felt, some of them probably legitimately felt they had nothing to play for.
I think you're right. I know what Kyle is saying, though. Like the very fact of, hey, I'm gonna go out there and you, Kyle, you're talking about a chip on your shoulder, man. The team that gets robbed of being in the national championship hunt. Georgia's won 2 straight. We don't feel sorry for them. I do love those. Obviously the players and coaches. I think that it's great what they've accomplished. But as far as Florida State is concerned, I do think they should have been in the playoff. But that's a whole nother show, as they say, and that's why they were. I can see how I can make an argument both ways on how I would think I would feel.
Yeah.
I would be upset that what do we have to do? Go 20-0, 50-0, 100-0, and so I was telling Florida State, hey, now you know how we feel in the Group of 5 when you could go undefeated. Well, you're not good enough. You hadn't played the schedule. You're not in the SEC. It's not Monday. It's there's some reason why you can't be one of the 4.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue, an unsettled issue for people in Tallahassee for a long time.
Yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. Coach, as far as the championship game goes, are you going? So you really like Washington in the game? I'm putting you on the spot, I know, but you have more of a football mind than I ever will.
That's okay. I've been on the spot before. Just it's just which spot am I going to get on? If I had to put money on the game, I'd put it on Michigan because I do think they are going to play a physical game, and they're going to be able to do things, and I think they're going to play that way defensively. It's not. I think I think they have a great defense up front, but I'm kind of an underdog guy, so I'm going to pull for the other one now. But if you made me put $1 down, I ain't putting it on Washington. I promise you that.
What is the line in the game? I haven't looked.
I haven't either. Matt, you know the line, or Bubba?
I'll double check now. I believe last I saw it was Michigan by 4.5.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not touching that line.
Not at all. That's almost a pick 'em there, but you're right.
A lot of points. That's a lot of points. I was a little surprised.
You think 4.5 is a lot of points, Matt?
I do. I think it's gonna be a very close game. Because here's the thing:
that's a pretty low spread.
Here's the thing: Washington can score.
That's what
Washington can score, and with that quarterback, I think they're going to be able to score. You look at the over/under. The over/under is 56. So even the odds makers are expecting a lot of points in this game, which makes sense because I think Michigan's going to be able to move the ball and score points, and I think Washington with their offense, they're going to be able to do some good things too. So
you're taking Washington with the points, Matt?
As of right now, I think I'm taking Washington with the points.
Okay.
Wow. I do agree, Matt, that
what do I know, though? I mean, who knows? That's just my gut feeling.
I think it's going to be I believe that it's just like the two games, the semifinals.
I give well, first of all, Dave, let me step on you, but Matt said, what does he know? I'll give you credit. But not only did you play football, you're also from New Jersey and you're Italian, so you might know a little something about the lines and the betting.
I know a guy down at the Piers, Coach Bustle. He gave me 4.5. How about that?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm a big pulling. I'm afraid it's going to be a slow death. I'm afraid, I think Michigan's not going to score fast, and if Washington can't score, because they're normally a fast scoring football team,
right?
If they can't do that.
It takes the game out there.
They only going to get so many touches, and I'd be curious to see when the game's over how many plays they have compared to what they normally have.
That's a very good point.
And because they play fast, and Michigan's not going to play fast, and they're going to just keep stepping on your dadgum toe until you yell uncle if they can make you do that. And if he has time to throw the football, I think because I like the quarterback a lot, I really do.
Coach, tell me something from a coaching perspective. I'm curious how this works. Maybe you could shed some light on this just for the people listening in. So let's just say you're in this 4-team playoff, right? And let's say last week, let's say you're coaching at Washington, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, your primary objective is to beat Texas, but I'm assuming you have other coaches on staff who are putting together a scouting report for the other two teams. So for both, in this case, Michigan and Alabama.
Right.
So that when you start the week, you already have that game plan in place. What does that look like for the average fan? Like, what does that look like from a coaching perspective? And how does that work?
Well, I mean, you're right. If we're playing, Texas right now, I mean, we're going to have our GAs or those analysts that everybody's got now, those graduate assistants. They are already going to do scouting reports. They're already going to have your video put together the way that you want it, offensively, defensively, special teams. All the work that normally takes on Sundays, after a regular season, after a regular season game, a lot of that works. It's no different than during the week. Those guys are already looking at next week's team. And it's not going to be a big change. Because again, you're going to have guys that break down film, you're going to have our video, you're going to have them put it together according to how your offense and defense wants it every game. All that's going for those people. They're going to do the same thing they normally do. I don't know I don't see that it would be a big change. It's just what they do. And you hit it. I mean, they're going to have other people that's what they're there for. I looked at everybody. I looked at Kirby's staff the other day. Everybody that works in the football program, and there was 54.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, everybody's got one of them dadgum titles. I don't even understand what them titles are doing. But anyway,
Exactly. Good point, Coach.
I mean, they got all these analysts. They got all these offensive analysts, the defensive analysts, analyst number 2, whatever. But he had 54 people they listed and that's the ones that I counted. I don't know how many missed picture day. So
yeah, that's crazy. That really is unbelievable.
I mean, it is. So
54 on the staff.
When you open up their book and you look at support staff and that's you got your football coaches, but you have a support staff.
Right.
You look it up and count all the different people that are involved with the football program.
Wow.
I just did that the other day because I had a book that had it all. And I don't think it's on their website. It might be, but it was in a program thing they had made. And and I remember back to Virginia Tech, we had a couple of GAs on each side of the ball, and that's about it. But they're going to do they'll come to the coaches. And they will add that group of people that are going to get all that stuff ready on Alabama and Michigan, and they're going to ask you, what games do you prefer? They're not going to break down 12 games. They're not going to put that in the computer. They're not going to put all that on film because you'll never get it looked at. But kind of in your conference and what offenses people run, and you might, you're probably going to pick 5 games. Could be 4, could be 6, but you're not going to look at 12 or 13, whatever they played. But you're going to know that those are 6 or 5 good games that you can look at that's going to be similar in what you do and they do that will help you, that you feel like will help you. And then that's about the only question that those people will ask is, determine they'll ask the coordinators what they want. Then after that, they don't bother them coordinators and stuff anymore.
Yeah, and I think I think one of the things when you look back at that Michigan-Alabama game, Nick Saban had a full month to prepare for Michigan's offense, and you could tell they scouted them really well because Michigan loves to use those big tight ends. They love to use that little boot action. It's like a play action boot and just drop it off to the tight ends. And Alabama did a tremendous job with their defensive end getting his hands up and tipping balls. I mean, he must have tipped – their defensive ends must have tipped 3 or 4 balls in that game.
Yeah.
And they prevented a lot of those little plays, those little boot action plays to the tight ends. Again, a whole month to prepare. Washington doesn't, they're going to have their players are going to have, a few days in practice here. So that's going to be a factor too, I think. But I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I really do. I think you have the 2 best teams, and I'm pretty fired up about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game too. I think I'm afraid Washington might succumb to the physical part of it. Hope they don't, because if they can score a few quick ones, again, I'd be curious to see how many snaps they get in the game. So, because I mean that's something that's with those fast playing teams, they always feel like they need X number of plays in a game to have had a chance to score and do the things they need to do. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be two different kind of offenses, which is great because I'd hate to watch two teams play like Michigan.
Any chance, in a game of this magnitude, Michigan just beat Alabama, and Alabama is Alabama, and no matter what, everybody they're the measuring stick, so to speak. Even in the era of Kirby Smart in Georgia, any chance you think Michigan says we've beaten Alabama, we've got this thing won, and isn't as focused on watching as they should be? You wouldn't think so in a national championship game.
I don't think they'll be that way at all because they haven't been. That group of kids have not been, and they haven't been. Y'all probably know a date of when they went before.
Was it 93, 92, 93?
So none of those kids were whatever grade when that happened. So it's not like that they would get overconfident. They just ain't gonna. It wouldn't happen. Not with them. Not with a new group of kids like that. They want a championship ring. They want all that goes along with the national championship. They want all that, and they're not going to get it. And I'm sure Harbaugh does a great job of the way they practice. They're not going to change the way they practice. They're not going to emphasize things any more or less than they normally do. They're going for those kids. They're going to make it. It's a practice week, and everybody knows it's a big week. We all know that. But we can't run one more play every day and think that's going to be the difference. You've got to practice to win, and those guys have been doing it. Both teams have.
So the last time Michigan won a national championship, I guess, was '97. I didn't realize it had been that recently. That's still been a long damn time ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And there's a banner or something up in that Michigan. Them kids know that, and then people have already said it. Nobody has to tell them it's a big game.
Yeah, I still think if Harbaugh wins it, I think he's going to the NFL. I really do. I know that's another side, like I guess a storyline, but I really think he's gone after the season. Maybe win or lose. But
I was just going to add to that. I said, well, if he loses, he's going to. I think he's going to.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, Kyle. It's like with Harbaugh, you don't have to worry in the NFL. You're not worried about NIL. You're not worried about recruiting violations, whether you agree with what happened or didn't. You don't have to worry about any of that mess. And so I think I really believe there's half a dozen teams, maybe 4 to 6 teams off the top of my head. When you say, Matt, for Harbaugh to go to in the NFL, Coach?
And I'll tell you what, though, Michigan is a place to be during this NIL era. And Harbaugh, when he first got to Michigan, he started recruiting in the South and having those camps. You guys remember when the NCAA was throwing a fit about the satellite camks? And
I couldn't understand why that was wrong. I still don't understand about why that was a big deal.
But I guess it wasn't. But particularly now, when you look at what they're doing, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I understand Harbaugh through the NFL a lot, but at the same time, I don't. If you're going to have to be at a place during this NIL era, Michigan ain't a bad place to be.
Hey, Kyle. There's one place he's not going. He's not going to Charlotte to the Panthers. Okay.
Well, did they hire somebody? Or?
Well, no. Where the owner throw a drink on the Jacksonville fans. You didn't see that?
Well, between the two owners there of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers, you got two of the biggest morons on the planet. Not so much with Shad Khan, but Tony Khan, his son, who is, of course, part owner of the Jaguars. He's a friggin' moron. And then I wish they could throw drinks on each other.
Well, one other thought, guys, on Harbaugh. I think if they do win, I think it's the perfect time for him to leave Michigan because
he did it.
Here's the thing.
He brought Michigan back.
Coach, you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this. Here's the thing, right? He could win the national championship this week.
Yeah.
Next year, if he loses to Ohio State, they're going to try to boo him the hell out of Ann Arbor.
Exactly. That's my point. Exactly.
So what better time, right? You're the golden boy. You came back to your alma mater. You won a national championship.
Yep.
You did it. What better way to go out? And if he does go back to the NFL, guys, he's going to go to a situation. It's going to be a situation where there's a young quarterback in place with talent. You know,
Colin
there's
Kaepernick.
going to be something available for him. He's not going to go somewhere with where it's a total rebuild with no quarterback. And, you know, he's going to play that strategically. But that honestly, if I was Harbaugh,
So he's not going to the Panthers then?
he's going to the New York Giants. We have Cutlets. We have Cutlets there. Tommy Cutlets.
I know, but I love everybody that's a Panthers fan. Please, I feel your pain on that. With having an owner that's worth guys, he's worth $20 billion, and the NFL, all they did was fine him $300,000. You know, that's like they said that's like $100 for the average person. That's what he got fined.
Wow.
Like if you put it in our in middle
Well,
class.
what he's probably going to get if whoever he threw the drinks on, you know, whatever fan.
In Florida, that's a crime.
I would be suing the piss out of him. I would have slipped on the drink. The drink would have injured me. I would have had PTSD because of it. I'd be getting a couple. Yeah, I'd be getting a couple. I can't look at Coke the same way ever again. Pepsi, whatever.
I don't think it was Pepsi or Coke, Kyle.
I can't look at a Miller Lite the same way ever again, or whatever he was drinking.
Tequila,
tequila, whatever. He would be paying me several $100,000 if I was one of the people that got a drink thrown on him.
Take the $300,000 and give it to Kyle.
Yeah, I'll pretend like you threw a drink on me.
You forgot brain damage too. So
yeah, absolutely. Brain damage. Exactly. Yes, exactly. The ice hit me.
But that's you know what's funny is they said the guys Matt, Bubba, Kyle, Coach. They were talking about battery, that even if the drink, this is crazy, but the law in Florida, I think, even if the drink doesn't hit the person, it's still battery. It's crazy. But
every state's got interesting laws. Florida's got some really interesting laws.
Yeah, but I'm just curious out of that, what coach, and get this, Coach, you're going to love this. I'm going to ask you guys this question. So he owns the Panthers for 6 years now, and he has the Charlotte Football Club, Charlotte FC with the soccer program. They've had 2 going on season 3 coming up next month. Guess how many coaches, if you count the interim coaches and the head coach and the regular coach, guess how many coaches he's had between the 2 franchises? Can you guess?
I don't have a clue.
Kyle, you're going to love this because you love coaches. 9 coaches in 6 years. Wow. 9 coaches.
No, he's terrible.
And he says, after he fires Frank Reich, he says, I'm a patient man in other parts of my life. I'm like, how can you be patient? You had 9 coaches. Anyway, I don't want to get off on Tepper, that thing. Coach, looking at the time, you've been with us for over an hour and a half. I appreciate you so much. You're great to us.
I've enjoyed it.
And Tommy, you're awesome. And again, you'll forget more football than I'll ever know. So I'm looking forward to the game. And are you having like a viewing party? Are you having like a national championship party? Matt has a party every week. It's amazing. I wish.
Coach, you're invited, Coach. But here's the thing.
I appreciate that.
Here's the thing, but I need your years of knowledge. All right. So, because I want to put a bet on the game. So, Coach, I'm going to put you on. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I look at games differently. That's why I don't go to games in person, because I'm a bad fan. I look at games differently and kind of seeing why they're doing stuff and how they're doing stuff. And I probably don't do a lot of talking to people, so I probably don't need to be at a party right now. this game. And the good thing is I have no money on this game either way, so that's good.
Ricky, let me put you on the spot, all right? You got to make a bet right now, all right? So all Michigan minus 4.5. Who are you taking?
Michigan.
He's got Michigan on it. Yep.
You got Michigan all the way.
Yes, sir.
No, there was no hesitation there.
No, sir.
There was no hesitation.
You making me put money out, so I'm going to Michigan. I told y'all if I only had $1, I'd put it on Michigan, but I don't.
All right, I like it.
I like it. Well, Coach, Happy New Year to you. Appreciate you so much. And again, thank you so much. I didn't realize. I enjoyed talking to you so much. I didn't realize we had been talking that long, but it's a lot of fun. Life and football, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on Monday. It's kind of a sad period because I have a letdown, and I have a major letdown after the Super Bowl because I'm like, where's my football? There's no more football.
Exactly.
So thanks for talking football with us, and look forward to having you back on very soon.
Guys, I'll do it anytime, and I love talking with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach Bustle.
Appreciate
You
you.
bet.
Thanks, Coach. Take care.
You bet. You guys too.
All right, thanks to Coach. He's the best. In fact, we need to have him on more, Bubba. And Kyle, did you see? I was talking about earlier about, you'll appreciate this. Coach Holtz said he's been offered 5 group of 5 jobs, a handful of jobs, but he wants to stay with the
I
Birmingham.
said it was 8.
8? Okay, I beg your pardon, Bubba. See, I'm not a numbers guy like Matt or Bubba or John.
8 group of 5 jobs, and he's
No,
and he doesn't want to get back in college coaching, probably into the current environment.
Exactly. So I want to get your take.
I'm curious to know what they were. I'm curious to know if they were all head coaching jobs.
I think they were. And my understanding is that what they were head coaching jobs.
Was it this year and last year combined? I know he was offered the Charlotte job, or at least he was up for the Charlotte job last year. I don't know if he was offered it or not.
Yeah, it was last year and this year combined.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm be curious to know who offered him. I'd have to go look at coaching vacancies for the last 2 years to see where I think his name would come up. But it's interesting that he wants to stay with Birmingham. Yeah, interesting note: the no more USFL, no more XFL,
Yep.
UFL, which is odd because that was the name of the league Mark Cuban tried to start in the early 2000s. Was the UFL?
Oh my God, I forgot all about that, Kyle.
Yep.
Wow.
So with their weird neon uniforms.
10 seconds.
So I by the way, I'm sure everybody saw this. Maybe some of our listeners haven't, but we're going to start the UFL season. I believe it's March 30th with the Birmingham Stallions taking on
the Arlington Renegades.
Right, and that's going to be Shane Carden. Excuse me, Holton Ahlers against Skip Holtz.
Yeah, Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops coaches the Arlington Renegades, so that's pretty cool that you have Stoops and Holton Ahlers, and then of course, like you said, with Skip. In fact, Skip, they've won the last 2 USFL championships back to back.
Yep.
So apparently, there's going to be 4 teams from the USFL and 4 from the XFL. So you'll have 8 teams, and like Kyle said, it starts March 30th. And it's a 10-game regular season. I thought it would only be 8 games, but it's 10. I read earlier today.
And it's not only Holton Ahlers with the Arlington Renegades playing for Bob Stoops, but you're going to have at least 3 Pirates for the Renegades. In addition to Holton, you have Garrett McGinn, former offensive lineman.
I didn't know that.
And then another former Pirate offensive lineman in addition to McGinn, Big Noah Henderson.
Oh, wow.
So what are the
both of which protected Holton, especially Noah. And Garrett, I guess, was just perhaps that 1 year in 2018, but Noah obviously multiple years.
Yeah.
Bubba, do you know what are the prospects Holton's going to start for Arlington? Do you know their quarterback situation?
I heard him on Pirate Radio yesterday. Holton was saying that he is in a situation. He turned down a couple opportunities where he probably would have been the starter going in. The Renegades do have a starter returning. Don't recall who that is, but he said I've never been shy of competing for a job. And he said, and despite not having that assurance or thought that I would probably be the starter going in, that I feel great about that situation with Coach Stoops, and just thought it was a better overall situation.
Yeah,
so,
you have
give him credit for that.
Interesting though that he wouldn't take something that he feels like would be a sure thing with the starting job, because I would think the ultimate goal would be to get back to the league.
Well, he thinks that he thinks the UFL he has a better shot than I guess the CFL.
Okay,
right,
was it CFL
Kyle,
job?
No. Kyle was talking about the other UFL opportunities.
Oh, okay, I see.
But yes, he did have CFL opportunities as well, but he was talking in reference to those other UFL opportunities.
And I believe he said, didn't he say, Bubba, that help me if I'm wrong on this, but that CJ Johnson is also going to be in the UFL for the DC Defenders, right?
Yeah, I was very excited to hear that.
Yeah.
I had not.
This just in out of DC, CJ has been kicked off the team. Not playing. I'm playing with you, CJ. Good luck. Hopefully you have great success with the Defenders.
Well, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
but I was very excited to hear that because I was afraid that his football career may be over. But awesome to hear that he's still chasing the dream.
I just don't understand, guys. Help me out with this, and I don't want to spend time on it, but I was thinking about this branding wise, and maybe Kyle, you can help me. I was thinking about this yesterday. USFL has so much legacy.
Yeah, I would have stuck
Why
with that
didn't you?
name also. I don't
Am I
know.
wrong on that?
I don't know. No. I'm glad they didn't use XFL because that's a
Right,
tarnished brand.
right.
But the USFL has a good legacy. It's a good brand name. I agree with you. I would have, UFL.
It
It's
doesn't.
all right. I
Yeah,
don't know how many people remember the other UFL anyway.
I
So,
didn't. I'd forgotten about it.
I guess they're doing it just to show us a new combined league. But I would have stuck with the USFL branding, and I
Yeah.
would not be surprised if they don't go back to it. To me, I think it was the much better brand, and it's what I would have went with.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm happy for our Pirates. In fact, he said, by the way, Kyle, that Bubba, do you remember this? Isaiah Winstead got cut from the Niners last week, so I think he's going to be another one that'll be in the UFL.
Yeah, and he had a workout. I believe it was with the Falcons. I want to say it was the Atlanta Falcons in the
Oh,
last couple of
Falcons.
days since
Okay.
getting let go by the 49ers.
Yeah, I really like that guy. I know I hate that we only had 1 year with him because he was very glad that we had the year with him, but I wish we had a few years. I won't be greedy and say all four, but I was a huge fan of Winstead, and there was who else was it? There was one. There was maybe they were talking about Tyler Snead, of course, winning a Grey Cup. I don't. How much do you think, guys? Do you think that really matters? Like if you win on a winning team with a CFL, or is it more individual stats? I would think that's more important than a Grey Cup, right?
What are you asking?
Like in other words, how much
You
did they
talking about
put
as far as earning
on
you a
into
look
the
in the
NFL?
NFL?
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh, in
obviously,
the NFL, yeah, it would be your individual
yeah,
performance. Yeah, but yeah.
that's
In
what I'm.
terms of yeah, in terms of to a player, I guess it would be depends on who you are as far as what matters to you personally. But yeah, in terms of getting a shot, Snead's not going to get shot in the league. His size is going to keep that from happening. But
He was with the Steelers. I mean, my
he can
God,
have a hell of a career in the CFL or the UFL if he wants to
keep it
to
going.
to try that. But the CFL, it's like it's like oh God, help me out! I'm having a brain fart here. Our former quarterback, guys.
Dominique Davis.
Yeah, it's like Dominic Davis said. The reason he has no interest in any of these other leagues is because none of them seem to last. Where the CFL has been around, for 50 plus years. So either these other leagues come and go. So while the UFL may be paying out more money, who knows if it'll be around in 2 years.
Yeah, that's why I was saying with like we were talking about, Kyle, with the branding with USFL, and the fact that hopefully the one thing for me is we were talking about, Kyle, with having, what is it, July, having it done by July, keep it.
Yeah, I start some March 30th. I don't know when the
Yeah,
season ends, but I would. I've always thought playing football to about the middle of July would be a good idea. But we got some Pirate news, Bubba, with a couple of guys from the portal today.
We do.
yeah,
Obviously, that second portal window, you had the one back about 3 weeks ago. Now you had this one from January 3rd to the 7th. So Wednesday to Sunday, and you knew the Pirates are going to still be pursuing some offensive linemen, a cornerback with Antoine Jackson moving on. You have the need to still bring in another quarterback. In addition to those other offensive linemen. So, as far as offensive linemen are concerned, huge pickup, both literally and figuratively today, coming up from Tallahassee, Qoyshawn Sapp. You have 6'4", 325 pounds. If you've taken a look at this guy on film or just his recruiting profile, he just doesn't. He's extremely highly recruited coming out of high school. Had offers from essentially every SEC program, with the exception of a couple, and among those that he had offers from were the likes of Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and he almost looks like the type. Reminds me, I don't know, maybe perhaps like a Sherwin Lacewell. I'm trying to think of some of our other offensive linemen in the past that you almost he's not your stereotypical offensive lineman from years gone by. I mean, he's a guy that just looks like a large human being at 6'4", 325 pounds. Not a lot of loose weight on him. I would say probably a pretty low body percentage relative to other offensive linemen.
Somebody said, and I don't know if this is accurate, Bob, but somebody said had he originally already transferred out and was going to go to FAMU, and then I guess had the opportunity to stay FBS, so he came here, or is that bad information?
That may be accurate information. I had not heard that, but may very
I
well
saw it
be.
on a message board. I saw it one post on a message board. I have not done any research on it.
But yeah, just he was for what this is worth. I really don't pay attention to stars, but for those who do, for what it's worth, I mean, he was a 4-star guy coming out of high school, and like I mentioned, had all those SEC offers, 10 plus, including Bama, Georgia, and LSU. So that tells you something right there. And then also we got a commitment from, for what it's worth, another 4-star prospect back from when he was coming out of high school, transferring to East Carolina from West Virginia. So you had that.
You think he'll be corner or receiver here, Bubba?
I would say corner, but I guess you have that option. But I'll definitely say corner, especially losing Antoine Jackson. But
yeah, he's being recruited for corner.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Definitely the mold of kind of a Savon Revel. Is 6'2", nice length, and when we saw what Savon did this year. His name is Andrew Wilson Lamp. He started a game or two for West Virginia.
He started the first 2 games of the year and had a busted coverage. And
maybe against Oklahoma State or somebody.
And they didn't start in the rest of the year. And
yeah, he played 78 snaps, I think it was, against the Cowboys. And then, yeah, like you said, after playing significantly in those 2 games, played sparingly the remainder of the season.
Man, that's rough from one busted coverage.
Yeah, 100 and I think 175 or 180 snaps on the season.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Guys, in addition to him, obviously he's verbally committed, but I believe tonight we have another corner on campus, and I don't recall his name, but he's from Maryland, and by all accounts, another really talented guy who, 4-star prospect coming out of high school, and another really good prospect. So we could come out of this weekend with 2 potential starting corners. Now, obviously you have Revel on one side, but the type of defense we play, you rotate corners a lot and you use a nickel. So, definitely some available areas for playing time.
And yeah, Kyle, no doubt. We have Brandon and then also Johnny Gardner chiming in saying that he had committed to Florida A&M on the 22nd, according to 24/7 Sports. And then Johnny said the Rattlers, of course, had that coaching change. So then he reopened his recruitment.
I imagine he's glad he did. Got the opportunity to come here, unless he, unless I don't know, FAMU at one point. Do you guys remember when they tried to move to FBS? That they in the early 2000s, they had they're the only school I've ever known. They had the transition year and then said, no, never mind, we're going back to FCS or 1AA. Do you guys remember that?
Vaguely, we talked about it.
We discussed that, Kyle, here in the last several months. Maybe perhaps it was last season, but somehow that came up when you and I were having one of lengthy college football discussions, and I told you I'd actually forgotten about it, but then as you were talking about it, it kind of came back to me.
Yeah, I read an article on it not too terribly long ago about what happened and how it was just a financial disaster for them. And midway through it, they said, "No, no, we can't do this." So the only HBCU to ever try it, it'll be interesting to see if an HBCU ever tries to do it again.
No doubt, and we're really excited about the chances of. Okay, let me ask you this question, guys. It's basically free agency. This was a question I thought about over the last week or so. Give a grade. We're being like other shows, but give a grade on the off-season free agency that we call transfer portal with the Pirates this year. How are you feeling?
If we get one more quarterback, I'd give it an A. Right now, it'd B plus.
B plus. Okay.
It-
I think
You
that's
know, it's Dave. It's really funny you asked that question because I was thinking of that earlier today, and the way I would grade this thing, I would grade it through today. But if you look at what we've accomplished since the season ended, let's just go back to the offensive coordinator situation. You go out and you get your offensive coordinator.
Oh, everything as a whole, I'd probably give an A, Matt. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, I mean the amount of work that has gone into the last month is pretty impressive. So what I would say is I really like what we've done so far. I like the recruiting class out of high school, but I really like what we've done in the portal. And we're addressing the needs that we didn't address last year. And what that tells me is that we've learned that hey, we can never do this again, and we're adapting as a program. And I really like the fact that obviously the first domino is the quarterback, right? You get your quarterback, but the kid we brought in today, I say the kid, he's a grown man.
a monster.
He's a monster.
Beast.
But this one excites me more. Next to the addition of the quarterback, this one for me is the most exciting because you just, God, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you cannot win without the horses up front. And this guy, even though he hasn't played a lot at this level yet, how often does East Carolina get a high-level 4-star recruit that had offers from Alabama? So the talent is there. He just has
Right.
to get the experience now. And what I really like, guys, if you look at the 4 new offensive linemen we've brought in so far, 2 from JUCO, 1 from Maine, and then the kid from Florida State. All of them will be here for spring football, and that is
Yeah.
a huge factor.
No question about it. And guys, one of the things that Coach talked about today, by the way, if you haven't had a chance, 94.3 The Game, Coach Houston talked to Igo today on the Hoist the Colors show, noon to 1 live today, earlier. It was the very fact of how much difference last year versus this year in the offseason free agency, as I call it, the transfer portal. Last year, they didn't have the money in the NIL, the Team Boneyard. Team Boneyard has stepped up huge, and it's in fact, Coach quote said it's a night and day difference, Matt. A night and day difference. You're in the apartment there in the transfer portal with the rum stocked up. I tell you what, man. I know that it's early, but I feel a lot better. I'll just say this: I feel a lot better. I told you this off air earlier. I feel better about football than I do basketball right now. Still, no offense to my basketball team and my players, but the football team in the offseason has made some great strides.
Yeah, that was a really good interview today. I thought
Yeah.
Steve and Igo did a really good job with that interview. And the Mike Houston I heard today, I really liked what I heard. Like, that's the Mike Houston I heard 2 and 3 years ago. He sounded excited. He sounded energetic. You could tell he's feeling a little bit more positive. And I really liked his answer that, there was a question asked to him, essentially basically saying like, will this be John David Baker's offense? And I really like Mike Houston's answer. It was basically, listen, what kind of leader would I be if I hired somebody and then didn't allow them to coach? He's like, I hired him to coach. This is his show. That's why he's here. He basically said, I'm going to get out of the way.
Yep.
I'm going to let him run his offense the way he wants to run it, and let him run the show. So I really like that answer, and I think that's a smart thing to do.
And the fact that both Blake Harrell, that, oh, by the way, we kept 2 years. They both of them got a 2-year contract. And he talked about how we already knew this, that John David Baker took a pay cut to come here, but it was because, like you said, Matt, he wanted to run the show. But how
Both
about
guys got a 2-year contract?
Yep. Does that worry you?
Yeah. I don't like that at all.
So in other words, if he's a bust, then we have to pay him for another year.
We have to fire Mike Houston. We're going to have to pay 2 coordinators. So,
Well, I think
that would be my concern with that. But I hope that doesn't happen. But no, I don't like that.
I think that they're showing confidence that that's not going to happen. But I totally get that after this year, anything is possible for sure. But it looks
a couple things as far as that goes. Obviously, with Blake Harrell and the defense we had this year, that may have been necessary. Obviously, Coach Harrell deserved it. And then as far as John David Baker is concerned, he obviously, felt good about Coach Houston and the program and our potential, but at the same time,
Right, I realized we probably had to do it, but
him leaving a very good situation at Ole Miss.
Boy, they better win. I'll tell you what. You mark this tape, Bubba. So stamp this tape right here, because if we don't win, this will be a point. This will write it down. Write it. If we don't win, this will be a point of contention next year, and everybody will be up in arms. Why did we do that? Why did we do that? So it better work.
Well, it's pretty much all, it's now or never, right? So it's like the Elvis song, it's now or never. And everybody knows that. And looking at this schedule, I wanted to ask you guys this too. Doesn't it feel like, if you look at the schedule this year, when you don't have Michigan on the schedule, and I know how App State is always tough, Liberty's tough, I know all that. But doesn't it feel like if we can, by the way, the thing that's frustrating about looking back at the season, and I know 23 is gone. I need to leave that behind, but looking in the rear view, you had a top 40 defense. And if we just had average, mediocre offense,
Sure.
we go bowling, So I'm thinking nothing is guaranteed as far as the defense. Maybe they take us, but I don't see them falling off that much. So you would think that looking at the schedule, looking at the new coaches that are coming in the league, I know that some of them are going to be like second year, but you have a new one at Tulane, right? So for me, I feel a lot better about this season going to a bowl than last year. I really do. I thought we were going, but I'm just saying that I think we're going to have an offense this year where we didn't have last year. God, I hope. I don't want to say it can get worse because I'm sure it can, but I don't know how much.
It can't. It cannot get any worse, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
I'm certain of that. Our offense hit rock bottom last year.
Yeah.
So there's only one way to go up, and that's up.
No, I'm optimistic about everything that's going on, and like I said, the one thing: are we going to sign another quarterback? What is the latest on that?
In that interview that Dave referenced, and I, like Matt, found that interview, very refreshing, and it kind of re-energized me and my belief in Coach. It was obviously Coach Houston, tremendous coach, but just what transpired last season, and in my opinion, was at least to some degree preventable. But I loved essentially everything Coach had to say, and very encouraged what he had to say about the guys that are already coming into the program that have already signed on the dotted line, and then also our plans for this portal window, and then also in May. He just said we're going to continue to be aggressive. He said last year.
Did he address the quarterback specifically?
He didn't dive into it too much, but yes, he said that sure we would like to have changed the way we did some things last year,
and that just said that we would have been aggressive the way we are this year, and we will continue to be aggressive. He said we'll continue to try to add quality pieces to this roster, and then right after what Matt referenced as far as giving John David Baker the reins and letting JDB and the staff, do their thing. That by doing so, he said that he's had conversations as far as he said we will definitely bring in another quarterback. He said we'll have one visiting probably tomorrow or over the weekend.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, and then also we'll add more.
Any idea who that is?
He didn't know. He didn't. He couldn't.
I didn't know if you did some research on your own.
Yeah, no. There is a guy, young man from U Albany, the Great Danes. He's thrown for 6,600 yards and also very athletic. And I know Matt's aware of him. I shared some film with Matt. Reese Poffenbarger, quite the name, but Poffenbarger, I believe, is still undecided. I'm not sure who else may be in the mix, but
is he somebody that we've been talking to?
According to what I've heard, there is some interest there. So
it's a lot nicer here than it is in Albany, although the weather is going to be the drizzling shit this weekend.
Let me tell you guys, if you guys have ever been to Albany, Albany, New York might be the worst place on earth.
Well, it's the capital city of New York. How could it be that bad? How could it be? How could it possibly be that bad, Matt?
It is gray, dark, snow, rain. It's miserable. Listen, if he gets an offer from ECU, he needs
How are the girls
he needs
Albany?
to run. They're terrible. They are terrible.
Well, maybe we can try the sub dog thing with him. Maybe he ain't got a fiance.
Hey, listen, Matt, we have a couple sponsors potentially for Albany. I think we just lost them. So.
Listen, the girls, listen, when it comes to girls, we know Greenville is a 10. We know it's a 10. And I'll give Albany about a 3. Maybe a 3.5.
Oh my God. Really?
Maybe a 3.5.
Is it really that bad? Can we get somebody on the line? Do you have any friends from Albany we could call and talk to on the air to see if we kind of give them equal time, man?
No. And I don't want them.
So you definitely don't have any friends now in Albany, right?
Yeah, y'all ever been to places like where the talent surprised you, like where the girls were better looking than what you expected? Anytime like I'm in the deep mountains somewhere, I'm always surprised that you always have these stereotypes of people. I'm talking deep in the mountains. I ain't talking about Gatlinburg.
You're not talking about Boone, right?
No, well, no, you got college girls there, but just somewhere, just pick a random town in the hollers of Eastern Kentucky, and the before they get methed out anyway, the amount of attractive females in some parts of Appalachia will surprise you.
I'll tell you something interesting, Kyle. This is many years ago. This is 20 years ago. I had this conversation. Pre-marriage, in case my wife is listening in the other room.
I don't care if my wife is listening.
Right. But
I don't care if your wife is listening either, for that matter.
I was talking to a longtime college coach who had coached all over the country. West Coast, East Coast, North, South, everywhere. Somehow we get on the conversation of where, what college did you coach at where the best looking women were? And this answer might surprise you. He said, without a doubt, when he coached at BYU.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all.
He said just beautiful women.
Natural.
You got there's a lot of pretty blondes in Mormon country. So if you like blonde hair and blue eyes, and your name's not Adolf, then Utah is probably a good place to be if you like the blonde hair, blue eye look. Yeah, that does not really surprise me. I'll tell you what, I actually have a game on DVD of East Carolina at Marshall from 2006 or no 2005 from 2005, and it was a streaming. I don't remember exactly. There was no commercials in the game, but I recorded it off TV. So saying it's streaming in 1505 didn't make any sense. So I don't know what the hell format I was watching it on. But anyway, there's a girl in the stands there that's literally. I paused the DVD at one point a few years back, rewatching. And one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen. just randomly that wasn't an actress or something just in the stand. So and that was at Marshall. So just talking about interesting
We
where you
are
wouldn't necessarily expect hot girls. There's that one in particular. Maybe I'll put that game on sometime and find it and screenshot it and send it to you guys.
Huntington, West Virginia, not exactly a
No,
hotbed.
no, you wouldn't think so. I bet she has a hotbed though.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Go ahead, Dave.
I said I was just interjecting. It's fine. You can go back to you. I said, wouldn't he like to know the hotbed?
Yeah, well, I would.
So, guys, two other takeaways from that interview today. I'm pivoting. This is what you call in the industry a pivot back.
Okay, thank you.
Off the girls, back to the football part. But
I'll stay on the girls.
I know you will. I know you will. Nothing wrong with that. So two other things actually. Number one, Alex Flynn will be participating in spring football, which I think is a really good thing, man. I really do.
Do you think he is legitimately thinking he can win the starting job, or do you think he's trying to solidify himself to see if he can be the backup?
Backup. I'm going backup, but that's my gut feeling. I don't know.
I think that's probably what he's thinking. I mean, he's a really smart kid. I mean, by all accounts, he's going to be a doctor after college. So he's probably thinking he just wants to play football as long as he can, compete for a job. But I would like to see him back because I think he'd be a really serviceable backup. And I think maybe you put some pieces around him and put him in the right offense. Maybe he could be a very serviceable.
If you get the kid from Albany, if he's put up those kinds of numbers,
baby. Come on.
If I'm Flynn, I probably go to medical school. But,
definitely.
So we'll see.
But something, you make a good point, Kyle and Matt, is the fact that, and Bubba, you've been a quarterback before, but you think about it, with Hauser, Coach Logan has said this on his show multiple times in the Logan Zone. You're only as good.
What is Logan's thoughts on Hauser? I don't ever listen to his show.
I don't remember him talking about Hauser per se that I can think of. It may have been the show was done with live shows. They've done a couple like best ofs, like the holidays.
Gotcha.
But he was talking about that you're only as good as the backup quarterback. So, having said that, after a 2-10 season, it wouldn't hurt to have Flynn in there. I definitely agree that for if we have a chance to.
As of right now, he's our best option.
Yeah,
as our backup.
And I'm curious. I will say this: I love Donnie K very much. The new blood in there, having a John David Baker working with him, I just wonder how much better. In fact, Holton Naylor said, I don't know, Bub, if you heard that how much better the room is to have Alex Flynn. Not only how smart he is, but maybe it takes a Flynn to push Hauser to have him, better. Like, in other words, he's there. He knows he's a backup, but he's going to keep pushing him and competing. And then you have another interesting wrinkle is with I don't know if you guys saw with the Gatorade Player of the Year in Kentucky is Cole Hodge.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that you put stock into that, but I think that's a pretty big deal.
That kid's a baller. That kid is.
Oh my God.
I really like that kid because when he committed to East Carolina and he has never wavered. He's been solid in his commitment. His brother's coming here next year. That kid, he's a baller. I mean, he can really play. I honestly, he could play, depending on what happens here. He's got the ability to play early. I think he's that good. And then
unless he's just completely full of shit, he comes across as old school in the interview with Bubba, like he's got an old school mindset. So if he was being genuine in that interview, I think Pirate Nation's really going to like him.
Well, I think he was sincere when he was talking about the fan base.
Oh no, I think he was too. You just never know. I don't know the kid. I've never met him, but yeah, if he was genuine and sincere, I think Pirate Nation's really going to like him.
And you know who recruited him? So Donnie K. So he has a history. We give him credit for that. He has a history of recruiting great players, like the Mr. Dwayne Harris, one of the best ever to ever put on a Pirate uniform.
I kind of not necessarily in terms of play, but just his. I guess that you would say like the style he has reminds me a little bit of Carden in terms of that he's just a gamer. This kid can play football. And he's a
2 state
competitor.
championships back to back.
Yeah, man. Kentucky Football Player of the Year. I mean,
Where were his other offers, guys? Bubba, Matt?
I don't know.
Louisville and Kentucky came in late. I do know that.
Who?
And Louisville and Kentucky came in late.
Okay.
And that's what's impressive to me is this kid.
Were they serious offers? I mean, there's offers and then there's serious offers.
Right. I don't know, but I do know they were making a late push for him. But I don't know how. I really don't know how serious it was. But those two I know late were trying to get him, and he, like Matt said, he never wavered. No matter what those, maybe Bubba, do you know all the offers? Those are the only two I can remember off the top of my head. I remember seeing the list. I just at 10:25 at night, I'm lucky to be awake.
I had to step away for a moment. Were you talking about
Cole Hodge?
Cole Hodge is off the list.
Yeah. I know. I'm trying to remember. I want to say App State. Seems like perhaps Marshall, but I know they are late. They were supposedly pursuing him as maybe more of a second option, but Kentucky and Louisville, both of them after the season that he had, made a run at him, and he, to his credit, stayed with the Pirates.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at what 13, 14 wins for the last 2 years. I mean, like 27, something like 27 wins for 2 years. 2 state
Playing a private school, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Family had money, so NIL maybe not as important to him.
Yeah, he said that he was more looking for.
Yeah, I heard that interview. He didn't really care about NIL. I'm just curious to know if his family has money playing at a private school.
Yeah, and kind of going back to what we had discussed earlier about Quayshawn Sapp. There's the 6'4", 325-pound offensive tackle. Does have position flexibility there, and I know Matt. That's something that we had discussed. His ability to play multiple spots along the offensive line, but he pretty impressive. And very excited about landing Quayshawn Sapp.
Yeah, that's my new best friend. I'm going to be very nice to him. 6'4", 325 pounds. And
Dave said he wants to line up at nose tackle again.
No, I don't.
That's what he said.
I'm going to be right behind Semenza. I'll let you.
Kid has a great look. He solid muscle, looks like natural. A good looking kid. Just from how my mind works immediately, I'm curious to know what he wants to do after football if he doesn't play in the league. Immediately my wrestling mind, I'm like, that kid right there. Just
oh my God,
it could be a huge, if he has any charisma, personality, or interest in it, could probably make a nice living in wrestling.
Absolutely. It's one of those things. In fact, WWE is doing that now, as you know, Kyle, is with the NIL. They're giving Matt. I don't know if you know this. They're giving NIL money to college football players potentially come to the WWE.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's something that
come on, Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
damn it.
Exactly.
We got Vince McMahon and damn Mr. Beast, and we can't get them to give huge NIL deals. I don't understand that. What the hell is going on? They give, in fact, the McMahons give to the business school every year. Every year they give. Why can't they give us money at the athletic department? And damn, Mr. Beast is right there in Greenville. He can about crawl to the university. I just don't understand. And he rents out like stuff for ECU, like, I mean, using different buildings and stuff. I just don't understand why we can't get money from him. I really don't. We got 2 damn billionaires and we can't get one dime. Okay, I'm sorry, but it just frustrates me.
No, I agree with you. It's irritating, and I don't know what you do about it other than irritate the shit out of them. I told you if it were me and I was Ryan Robinson, Mr. Beast and Mr. McMahon would have to get restraining orders against me.
I can see it right now. Kyle's going to be delivering pizzas, all kinds of stuff. Hey, it's me again. Can we get that $1 million? Here's a pizza. I don't know. I mean, how do you Matt, it's you're about building relationships. You're in the world of sales. I mean, Mr. Beast is. I mean, my kids love the fact that they think it's cool. When we go to Greenville, they're like, "Yeah." My daughter said this recently. I want to. She wants to be a YouTube star, by the way, and she says, "Can you believe?" The other day, she says, "Can you believe we're in Greenville, the home of Mr. Beast?" I mean, that's my 9-year-old daughter. Like my parents know. My mom wants to win money from
I would
Mr.
have thrown her out of the car and said, "We're in Greenville, the home of the Pirates." But that's just me personally.
Well, that's where she wants to go to school. So, and Alex does. So we'll see how that.
The home of Mr. Beast. I swear to God.
Yeah,
These kids today.
I know.
I
But I'm just saying the importance. That's how big Mr.
Oh
Beast
no,
is.
I know. He's the biggest YouTube celebrity out there. I know.
And a billionaire, you would think that we're not asking for the whole billion. Can we get 1 million, 2 million, 5 million? I mean, that's pocket change. Maybe David Tepper will give us some money, Matt.
Man, I'll tell you, the best thing we could do right now is win some games and then
Yeah.
approach Mr. Beast, after that and see if he wants to take part in it.
Guys, he was a pitcher. Bubba, help me out on this. But he was a pitcher, I believe, off the top of my head. But he's a baseball player, and I think he did very or well considering. But he was at Greenville Christian Academy, Greenville Christian something, off the top of my head. But man, that baseball project would be nice for him to give money towards. And I saw him. My kids were about to go nuts. We were in the jungle 2 years ago, and they had him in. They had him on that first base side, in between the first base side and where the bullpen is for the opposing team. But they had him in a special little area where he could watch the game. And I was just so frustrated. My kids are going, "Oh my God, it's Mr. Beast." They recognized him within a matter of minutes,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. These kids are all over that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe one of these days we can that'll happen. But we are, by the way, guys, update on indoor practice facility. Matt, we need some of the Semenza money, but we're north of 17 million. I was told potentially this was I don't know how true this is, but they had donors out there potentially up to 18.5 million by the end of the year. Of course, we're in the new year. I haven't heard an updated figure on that.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing about it. Just build the damn thing.
Well, as you guys know, I think, Matt, how do you feel about this with the fact, and Kyle and Bubba, how do you feel about the fact that, don't you think that there's a lot of us that, we want this thing so bad, the indoor practice facility, and it almost feels like it's not going to happen, like it's a pipe dream. And the reason I say that is because if you go ahead and put the shovels in the ground and you go and have a groundbreaking
I
ceremony,
say we take the 18 million, screw the indoor practice facility, take the whole 18 million, and
NIL.
go wipe the NIL portal clean and go win a national championship.
That sounds good to me. And you know how I feel about that, Kyle. So I haven't. It's kind of like we're too. Do you feel, Matt, that it's too little, too late on the indoor practice facility? I mean, we've waited so damn long that now that it's passe.
Well, what I'd like to do is kind of meet you guys in the middle and,
Okay.
do something a little bit, do like a bubble or something along those lines. So you have your indoor, but then you still have a ton of money left for NIL.
Can you
You take
imagine?
that 18 million, you put it all in the NIL, and you go win it to the New Year's Six or the playoffs next year. You'll have
And
all
you're
the money you
wasting it.
need for the indoor practice facility.
That's exactly that. The bingo, Kyle. This has been an off show because Kyle and I are agreeing on everything tonight. Matt, are you feeling okay, Matt?
That's a first, man. We've been doing this show for years. That's I'm happy to see that, fellas. I'm happy to see that.
It's a new year. It's a new start, a new beginning for Kyle and I. No.
What do you guys think about the bubble idea, though? I mean, I know it's not aesthetically pleasing.
You remember that movie with John Travolta where he was
Boy
in a
in the
bubble?
bubble.
Yeah,
Bubble Boy? What?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Boy
from
in
the
the bubble.
70s.
I hate John Travolta. I can't stand
Yeah,
him.
whoa, now you can live with John
There's two
Travolta.
beers. Two beers.
As
He
far
I
as
pisses
the
like
me off.
bubble,
him in green.
absolutely not. Absolutely not, for multiple reasons. One, it doesn't provide
John Travolta or the bubble?
it doesn't provide the functionality that we need from a
Look at that.
getting,
Bubba and Matt are disagreeing wholeheartedly, and me and Dave are agreeing. How about this? Bubba and Matt are going to call each other names here in a minute.
getting practices in, when it lightens. So John Gilbert referenced that recently in his interview with Igo, back right before Christmas, and just saying that, talking about the bubble, because that was mentioned by a viewer, just saying, it's not something you could practice in when it lightens, and then also you have the aesthetics of it, and needless to say, it's not very aesthetically pleasing. And I'm in full agreement with John Gilbert and the administration on sticking with the traditional indoor practice facility.
I agree. I just think it could be done cheaper than what we're trying to do it.
But Kyle, and 100%. And the problem is for me, I understand here's the problem. The problem is we all know the elephant in the room financially is that we had people like a certain AD, former AD that is not an AD anymore,
His name's
period.
Jeff Confer.
And AD at Georgia Tech now, that were resume builders, and they put this elaborate.
Can't remember his name. He sucked too, though. He was
J-Bat.
Yeah.
He was very nice to me, but I say that sarcastically. And so you have a situation where they built something that is great. The problem
is
is
first name Jay or J, just the letter.
So
his first name was actually Jackass, but he went by Jay.
Great movies, by the way. No, he said it was two guys with a name. I don't know if it was John or whatever. And so the teacher, to try to keep them, apart where she could remember them, gave him the letter J. That's what so he goes by the letter J. That I don't know what his first name is. I'm glad he's at Georgia Tech and not at East Carolina. But anyway, basically, what we did, guys, is we mortgaged the family farm. So I understand Gilbert being cautious because you've mortgaged the family farm. You can't borrow any more money. It's like it's basically you want this luxury car, so you borrow everything you can, and you're struggling to pay for the car. That's kind of like what we're in the situation with the Town Bank Tower, TBT. So the problem we have now is we should have built that tower many years ago, and they didn't. So we're way behind on that. So the cost of that is astronomical. It would have been a lot cheaper, say in the early 2000s, but we waited too long there, and now we've waited too long for the indoor practice facility. So that's going to be, probably by the time we start building the damn thing, will probably be 30 million. I mean, because we keep waiting. Construction. When's the last time? Help me out, guys. When's the last time you've ever heard construction costs going down? I'll just ask that question. Have you ever heard construction costs going down or up? And that's the frustration that I have with administration. They've done a nice job. I will give them credit. They've done a nice job raising the money. But if you don't get those shovels in the ground and a groundbreaking ceremony, hard hats, to go ahead and start on it, then guess what? It's going to take, and I've talked about this before, don't you think, guys, it's going to take a year and a half to build that thing?
I have no idea. I would assume so, but we need to go ahead and get it started as soon as possible. And I think we pretty much covered everything we can cover tonight. You guys, anybody else got anything else they need desperately said?
Yeah, we're trying to shoot for a Jim Cornette podcast. Corny, we're going to go another 2 hours. Who's with me? No, I'm kidding.
You go ahead. I'm on.
I know it is. We're at almost 2.5 hours, but we had. Hey guys, we've had a lot of positive news, a lot of great things, and the one last thing I will say is the portal is going through. Is it the 7th? Is that Sunday? Help me out. Sunday, right? Is the last day of the portal?
Yes, Sunday.
Okay, so the 7th is Sunday, so that's the last day of the portal for this week, and this week is the only time we have for the portal, and then it'll be in May, where they open the portal back up. And Matt, you have a few months to get your apartment stocked up for the portal, and we'll see how everything goes as far as that. By the way, guys, it looks like right now, Igo said, giving him credit, it looks like as far as scholarships, one more point I wanted to make to leave you guys with. It looks like if everything goes as planned, we have about, not counting today, it may be down to 6 scholarships left if you count, because with the offensive lineman SAP. So I think it's about 6 scholarships we're going to have left between now and the spring.
Well, hopefully it stays that way. That means somebody else left. Well, not no. Hopefully, we sign those 6 and it goes to 0, but hopefully it doesn't grow.
Correct. Kyle, do you have anything before we go?
I'm good.
All right, Bubba, do you have anything?
Just be sure to follow us on social media on X at the Sports OBJ, and then also on Instagram and TikTok at the Sports Objective. Like and follow our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now over 1,100 subscribers, and when you subscribe, be sure to click that notification bell and notifications all, so that way anytime we go live or upload new content, such as our sights and sounds from around Dowdy Ficklin or Minges or Clark LeClaire, you will be notified on your device.
No doubt. Do you have anything, Matt, before we go?
I got nothing, man. I got nothing. This COVID is getting worse as I get into the night. So
I hope you feel better, bro, and definitely take a sick day and enjoy yourself watching. We have the national championship coming up, and one final thing, guys, as far as Martin County football that we cover here, my alma mater, they hired Hunter Jinks. He's out of Raleigh, out of Millbrook. So a really good hire by the Martin County athletic director, and that's Asim McGill. So I want to give them a shout out, and he's going to come on the show at some point. In fact, we have the press conference. Speaking of a YouTube channel, if you'd like to check that out, we got a couple interviews up there and had a good time last night. All right, guys, appreciate our great coach, Bustle, for coming on, our great guest, talking about the national championship game. Good luck to, we'll see how that fares on Monday night, and we'll be back with you real soon. You've been watching and listening to the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody, and as always, go Pirates.
I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode, from the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close, all out to the last whistle blow. For the flag with the soul and crossbow. Everybody stand up, get your hands up, let a team know that we got their back. This is our house, this is our town, our time, every 1-9, copy that. Everybody in the stands go bananas, scream loud, but they don't hold back. Every foot, every yard, every first down, every touchdown with the cannons blast. Get it on, get it back.